Operation status quo. Operation status quo. Prepare to engage. Operation status quo. Ready to engage. Operation status quo. Engage. Engage. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I was kind of fumbling for the button there to flip on my camera, so I'm sorry that it took me like an extra, second and a half or something than I normally hit the button. So I really apologize to keep you waiting like that. Absolutely, because I'm a man of the people and you're the people and we're all people together. And I love being here each and every day for you. Well, not each and every day, but most days, right? I'm here. And, we're really moving through things as I realize. I'm up to we got 93. This will be 94 videos, episodes since I started this back in March. Again, for newer people, this is the fourth incarnation of this YouTube channel. But here we are, and we're moving forward with Operation Status Quo. The 19th, actually, of August will be March, April, May, June, July, August. That'll be 5 months, right? 5 months already that we've been together here sharing these messages and trying to create a space of community and love and joy for the people out there, because that's what it's all about. Hello and welcome. If you haven't been here before, I definitely appreciate your time. I am Pete Palma. This is Operation Status Quo, where we observe the status quo of life. Then, of course, we learn to flow with the status quo of life, and then we create our own flow of quo-yo, because that's the only way to go, and that's what we have to do in today's world, because, as I always say, things they seem in disarray in certain ways, right? And it's easy for us to get a little bit upset and worried about how circumstances are going to turn out, what our day-to-day lives are going to turn into with all the geopolitical nonsense and everything else that's going on in the world. I mean, climate change, God forbid, right? I'm just saying. So, but this is a space where we just observe what's going on in the world, and we don't get too crazy about it, right? We don't have to attach and get all worked up, because there are bigger powers at play, higher entities, and of course, our own self-power being part of those higher entities. So, we have a lot to offer for ourselves. We don't have to let the outside world mitigate the circumstances as to, how we're going to live day to day. It's up to us, right? It's up to us to just see what's going on, and we just kind of flow with it, and then we move on to what's next based on what we feel is best for us each as individuals. And that's why, as much as I always say this too. I have my own opinions and thoughts and perceptions based on my environment and my upbringing and everything else. So it doesn't mean anything's right or wrong, good or bad. We all have our perspectives, but we don't have to hate each other over it and judge each other, for it. We should just be able to discuss it, and then, allow people to do what's best for them in their lives. And just, if you resonate with someone and you want to, they're your friend, great. If you don't resonate with somebody and you find the people that you do resonate with, but at the same time, we always keep our mind open to, just accepting and understanding that it's not as serious as we all like to think sometimes. All right. Okay. So that's kind of what we do here on Operation Status Quo. I had to give that little, caveat because, I know my thumbnail, of course, is a picture of Trump, and I'll be talking about Trump a little bit today. And I understand, let me just say this in the beginning, that I understand that there are, people out there that just totally despise this man, right? For whatever reason it may be. Personally, hey, Brandy. Hey, Brandy. Brandy is a newer viewer, right, Brandy? You found me a week or something ago, and I appreciate you being here. I noticed you put some comments. Actually, just responded to a couple of your comments before I started my show here today. So congratulations on the things that you're doing in your life and the messages that you have sent to me. I appreciate your time and watching. So hopefully wherever you are located out there in the world, maybe you can get a group together to start having Operation Status Quo watching parties, get some more subscribers and shares. You could, I don't know, what part of the world are you, Brandy? Where are you? Let's see, what's it say? Good afternoon. I enjoy all the stuff you talk about. You're great. Well, let me give you a round of applause. Brandy, it's a compliment. Usually I get people to tell me to go screw myself. So I really appreciate that. Wow, that's fantastic. That's what we're here for. That's why I'm here.
Heyo.
Yes, you're hooked. Don't be hooked. Don't be hooked. I don't want you to. I don't want to cause any. What I don't know. I was going to make a joke, but I'm not even going to go down that way. But seriously, thank you, Brandy. I appreciate it for being here. And if I reach just one person in a day, that's one more person that I would have reached if I didn't do anything that I do here on Operation Status Quo. So anyway, back to what I was about to say here as far as today's episode. Well, today is the 2nd of August in the good year 2023. Hello and welcome once again. Of course, I appreciate your time. And today's episode is entitled Dances with Indictments. And, with Trump, of course. And I was thinking about all the indictments. It made me think of the movie Dances with Wolves. You know, how Kevin Costner was kind of out of his element, but then was able to be one with the wolves. You know, it's the same type of thing like with Trump, I feel sometimes. You know, he's getting indicted all the time, but he always seems to be able to bob and weave and get around all this stuff. So, he knows how to dance with the indictments. That's just like my thought process, I guess. But then let me go back. My caveat before I get into it is that I understand that people hate Trump. And if you're a Trump hater out there, I get it, whatever. He's, brash in the way he speaks and all that. But I definitely think that it's more so of, well, two things. One, a media campaign because, the stuff he talks about, I think, exposes a lot of the underworld of our government and politicians and our corporations and such. And, he's kind of like putting, whatever you want to, he's sticking a stick in the wheel, right? So it doesn't spin. And that's really the main crux of what he does, of why people dislike him, I think, but on top of it, and I say this all the time, we have to remember to let go of some of these images and ideas we have with these politicians and everything, because it's all designed to keep us in a space of not like expressing ourselves to our, fullest potential. That's kind of how I look at it. So, Trump, I know this goes down the conspiracy road and everything, but I don't even think he's in charge of anything, right? He's another character in the play. And I've said this before multiple times that I just feel he's like the catalyst to, bring forth the darkness that's been, hidden from us all this time. And this is why I think that, I think that because obviously he's involved with these people, his whole life as well, right? I'm saying he's from a young man growing up between his businesses and being involved with politicians and such, the level of celebrity and money that he is. Obviously he knows what's going on, and is he what, this is like a separate part of it. Cause there's a one line of thought where people think, Trump is like, the second coming of Christ, for goodness sake, and a savior to humanity, where other people think he's like, a total, evil devil, who did all the same things that these other people did. And, whatever the case may be, one way or the other, whether he is like some savior or whether he is an evil person, just like the rest of them. And, is either way, it doesn't matter, because who he is and what is going on with him brings exposure, right, to these other elements. Like if you think about like from years and years, like before Trump, right, any politician, any president, any corporation, like you always know that they're shady in ways, right? They do things that are illegal, they get away with things, but no one ever really cared, or, everybody's just like, oh, well, that's the way it is. Oh, how it is, these politicians or whatever. But then, Trump comes along and everybody hates him so much that now they start shining, a spotlight on all these things that go on, and my kind of thought process to it is that, he's doing the same things, good or bad, right or wrong, illegal, I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying he's doing the same things that all these other politicians and such have been doing, manipulating the system. Let's just say it that way, right? And, now they want to charge him, for all these things. And quite honestly, I feel when this stuff starts, going to court and, they start presenting evidence and stuff, I just think it's going to shine a light on, generations of, what's been going on. So I personally, because I'm a believer that our world is changing for the better, that that humanity is growing and we're trying to free ourselves of the old constraints that we've been in for these generations, and the socioeconomic slavery that I talk about and all. So it's all just a show that we're watching out there, and everything has to fall away in the way that it has to fall away. You're not going to be able to change anything until people really want change, or until people really see what they believed in doesn't hold the value that they thought it did, or at least it brings people to a space of not accepting, right? I mean, because on the other side, with Biden and everything that's going on, the allegations with his son, and all the deals with China, Ukraine, all that other stuff that goes on with him. If it wasn't for this hatred of Trump and this political attack, that the way it's portrayed, right, that that the justice system is being utilized purposely to attack this one person because they don't like him, that brings more attention to things, right? And I think that also brings people to a space of, whether, you hate Trump, even if you're somebody who hated Trump. So many people say they didn't even like Biden. They just voted for Biden because they hate Trump so much, right? So, I mean, that's like the mindset out there. But now I think, with all this kind of going on, and the more and more come out, and you see how, I mean, I know there's people out there that believe, I'm sure, that Biden's been doing a good job or whatever, but you could see the difference in the country. I just think on a, day-to-day level, it's not about hating a person or all. Let's just be real, right? And think about how the country was operating some years ago and how it's operating now. And I don't think there's any level of efficiency, or they talk about jobs, and they talk about the economy getting better and all this. But I mean, you're coming from a point of, after COVID, it's almost like you don't even have a benchmark anymore, right? So I just think there's a lot of deeper issues, and more so than this whole thing of like Trump and all this stuff I'm saying. There's a lot of like really serious stuff going on in the world, right? I mean, between the war with Russia, Ukraine, whatever that's about, all these other countries. I mean, there's cataclysmic weather events happening in different parts of the riots, like through Paris, right? And all these countries rioting, citizens who don't want to take it anymore, all this kind of stuff. And none of that stuff is ever talked about. And one of the biggest things, I think, is our whole, banking issue. And, I've spoken on this in some previous episodes about our banking system and really, the fiat dollar and how it's worthless. And, these other countries, there's groups of countries and different organizations, they're banding together to, find other ways of exchange that are outside of the dollar. And the bank issue that happened back in March, was just like a part of it. This still has been going on. Because I don't, I watch other things than just regular mainstream news. So, you see, there's other banks that have failed, since that back in March, but they don't really report it. They just said, oh, this bank failed. It was bought up by another bank. And, but this is going on. And then on top of that, there's these countries that are like just buying up precious metals, gold and silver, like crazy. So like, why are they doing that? Like, if the economy was still going to flow the way it flows with this fake money, the way they do, why would these countries be buying up all these metals, for their own, to preserve their own wealth in a sense, right? They wouldn't need to. So everybody wants it in their possession now, not like in the Bank of London or other places wherever this stuff is generally stored for other countries. Countries are reclaiming it and wanting it for themselves. So, the point I'm making here is that like there's like really. And I don't mean this in a bad way. Like I'm positive about it. Like just huge transformational changes happening in our world, and and I just find it amusing in a sense that all they want to focus on is Trump. Or, you turn on, they just can't wait to bury this guy, and it's like they make it so serious, like he's really done these things. I mean, listen, first of all, I'm not going to go down the whole thing, with being election. I'd be called an election denier or whatever. They try to make it like you're some kind of crazy, unpatriotic, anti-American. And, really, it's not. First of all, I rarely voted anyway, because this I know it's all fake. Do seriously out there, people, right? I understand everybody feels it's your right, it's your patriotic duty, as a citizen to vote. Do you really, really believe your vote counts? Like, do you really believe like when Obama was running or whoever, Bush, Junior, when he was running, like, do you really believe that like these were actual properly tabulated votes, that things weren't set in motion, like they didn't know who was going to be president before the person became president. It's just like, I mean, that's just how I've always seen it. I've never, believed in the system to begin with, because, to me, it's, on face value, I just kind of, I get the vibe, and I feel that, I understand why people do vote, because you got to try to feel like you're in control of something, but at the end of it, you're really not in control of anything. And, it's the same, that's the same thing, even what happened, with this past election, there's multiple things. Well, one, just to go back to the January 6th, I mean, I know people that were there that day, and, it's a whole nother story from, what they tell you on the news. And, they had people set up, ready to go in. They let the people in, I just feel it was an orchestrated event, and they keep pushing it, insurrection. And I'm telling you, there was no insurrection. Okay, the real insurrection was Inauguration Day, because there's multiple reasons of that. Like, first of all, the timing that it took place, it wasn't the proper time for when a president is put into office after the past president, right? And you can go down these rabbit holes if you want, but I've done this and I'm kind of tired of it, because it's been, in the beginning I was like all over it, but after a couple of years, it's like enough's enough. I'm just waiting for stuff to come out. But you can see that the video was made on a different day. The weather wasn't even the same, as what they showed when the inauguration was going on. If you watch some of the videos, you can see that it's supposed to be one live stream, but like people are jumping around, and they're standing here, and then they cut the camera, and now the person's standing over there, which obviously means the video was cut and edited, so and again I think that stuff is done. It's subtle, but it's stuff that they do on purpose, right? Because no one's going to necessarily believe it, but if they show, like I say, it's all a show, and if they show you it's a show, and give you little clues to look into to see that it's a show, and the more we tear down the veil, it's like the Wizard of Oz, right? Dorothy and all, they're scared to death of the wizard. Then they go in there and it's that little guy behind the curtain. It's the same thing. That's like as simple as you can make it. That's exactly what our whole mainstream structure of government and, finance and education, Hollywood, the sports, it's all the same thing, So, let's see. Brandy said, Brandy, you're still with me? I appreciate it. I have shared your page to a client trying to get your word out here. I'm in Pennsylvania. Oh, Brandy's from Pennsylvania. Brandy, I'm originally from Philadelphia, so I'm not sure. You might be on the total other. I know Pennsylvania is a big state, but I have been to Altoona. I've been to Harrisburg, and what's the other one? No, I've never been to Pittsburgh. I was thinking I was in Pittsburgh, but I wasn't. I've been to Harrisburg. I've been to Altoona. I had a friend of mine that was in college at Penn State, and he was on. This is back in the day, of course, and he was at the Penn State campus. So we went up there to visit him and have a good time. Which I don't remember much of that, because those were my young days, and we pretty much were just drinking the whole time. So anyway, but yeah, please, thank you for sharing with your clients. I hope you don't work like with mental people in any way, because like this show might be a detriment to their recovery. So whatever your clients may be, but I appreciate you sharing it out for sure. And keep the word strong in Pennsylvania. And I also lived in New Jersey. If you watch my shows, I know I say that sometimes, but a round of applause for Pennsylvania. PA. Everybody loves PA. Heyo. So, but anyway, that's basically the point of what I'm making here today. And, of course, this show is about, you guys out there, and, I'm just sharing information and opinions and thoughts. I know I've had plenty of people tell me, like, I'm a kook and, whatever. I've been called a communist. I've been called everything, and I don't know. I don't understand why, instead of holding on so much to ideas that keep us limited, like, why not free ourselves of these labels, right? And make whatever we want to be, we can be it, it's just so, I know it's not easy in a sense, right? Because we're born in this world and, we're just kind of programmed from day one of this is what life is. And, you have family, you have friends, you don't want to be ostracized, you want to feel like you fit in somewhere. We all have that need as humans to want to connect and, be together and share in community. And, if you feel like, you're like, because I know this for myself, like, I feel like I'm out in left field half the time with most of the people I meet. I always talk about my day job. And, earlier I was online and they were doing this meeting of this bigwig from the office that's, resigning. And I mean, just to listen to the political talk and the fake camaraderie, it's just so, I don't know. It's like, I'm like, these people, it's like, they're just so brainwashed. And I don't know. I mean, that's just, how I see it. Like, on top of it, like, even another comment with the job real quick is just that, I'm newer to this department or whatever. I was assigned some things. I really was given no direction or, long story short, I reached out to some people multiple times, sending emails, asking questions. Nobody answers me. Now, all of a sudden, the task that they assigned to me, it's getting close to crunch time of when they need to be done. Now, all of a sudden, the same people that never answered me, now they're like, oh, what's going on with this? Call me anytime. Keep us updated. Oh, we can do this and we can do that. And I'm like, well, that's really great. But where were you a month ago when I was asking for help and I send you an email and you just ignore me? I'm trying to tell you I'm new and I don't know. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But that's I don't even know why I'm going down that road. But I always go down that road sometimes, that stinking job. I'm on my way out, people. One day I'm going to come on here. I'm going to have a show titled I Quit. That's what I already have it in my mind. I quit. And I want to say I'm not quitting the show, but I'm quitting this damn albatross of a job that strangles me each and every day.
Hey-o.
I'm pretty lucky though, because I do work from home, and it is a government type job. So there's no level of competency or efficiency to worry about, right? So it's just kind of, as long as I show up and don't shoot somebody, I'm pretty good for I can make it for a while. So, but anyway, that's a whole nother facet. To finish here and to get back on topic, dances with indictments. I think Trump is really an amazing character, and if you take a step back and release the angst and the stress or the attachment to all the political nonsense. And remember, people, they're doing this to keep us divided, right? I mean, think about it. Before Trump, really, it's funny, because I had friends of mine, that I got along with fine, and then when everything happened with COVID and the election, and I was a little more outspoken on certain things, then, people started saying, oh, I didn't realize that he leaned so far right, but I guess I can see it. And I'm thinking, wow, like I don't think I lean anyway. I just lean on the idea of, being our best selves, being nice to your fellow person, and just, being respectful, having reverence for the planet, reverence for the animals. I don't know. I don't understand, this whole right left thing. It doesn't even, make any sense. I'm all about freedom. People want to do, even I know people who are hardcore right. I mean, especially with stuff like abortion and the transgender. Listen, every situation is its own, right? I'm totally open. What I really, especially the abortion, it's not that whether somebody should or shouldn't do it, right? I just think as a society, if we were taught differently, if we weren't a throwaway society, we wouldn't be thinking so haphazardly about what it means to even conceive a child, what it actually means to be a parent, and and the level of maturity and responsibility and care. And, it's a serious responsibility. You don't just go out and, bang around with people and pop out babies and, you have no means to take care of them. And you're not even educated yourself enough to know what to do with them, and again, this goes to the programming of our society, but I'm just saying, right? Each situation, just to finish with that, each situation is its own. Of course, nothing should be totally illegal or legal. It should be what the situation warrants, and a mature decision, made based on the circumstances. Instead of this whole thing of, people walking around with the signs and you can't take my rights, my body, my choice, and all this stuff. I don't disagree, right? Of course, yeah, your body, your choice. But at the same time, and I'm not saying that to the people who say this, I'm going back to the level of education and programming. It's almost like you don't know what you don't know. And if we were taught to have reverence as a society from day one, right? Then we wouldn't think of it the same way. That we would be like, this is a really serious decision if I make this or not. I get it. Like, if Uncle Jeb, takes you out to the shed and knocks you up, and like you don't want to have a two-headed baby or whatever. I mean, I get it, right? So I'm not saying it's totally wrong. I'm just, but the hardcore right people be like, oh, it's you can't, it's, murder. I mean, come on, and these are the same people that like are slaughtering cows hand over fist, I mean, it's the same thing in a sense. Like we think nothing of like, killing all these animals, for food. We think nothing of killing unborn kids. We think nothing of killing. I just think our society needs a reset a little bit in that regard. And the trans thing too. Again, that's another thing. Like, I am not whatever you want to be, gay. If you resonate as that, if you resonate as transgender, whatever you want to identify, great. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, why does that have to become encompassed with the idea that, now transgender people go, teach what it is to be transgender to young kids? I'm not saying that there shouldn't be, a level of awareness of education, but I mean, is it appropriate for like first, second, third, fourth graders, fifth graders, like those kind of, is it really appropriate to even talk anything sexual so much? I mean, like, let them be kids, for goodness sake. So, and especially the ones, that are playing the sports with the others. So I don't know, you're putting biological men, even though they identify as women in sports, competing against biological females, right? I'm just saying, why does that have to get roped in with, with the idea that a person wants to be a transgender? I mean, that's their decision, that's their life, and especially with the sports things. I mean, women have struggled so much themselves, for sports and their rights for all that to compete and such, and now you're kind of like, let's say, you disrespect them in a way, right? By throwing this monkey wrench into it with now men can play with women, I don't know, because I was always that way. Women wanted to play in men's sports all the time, right? And they kept trying to push some of that. And I always thought, let them play, put the woman out there on the football field. And, when she gets tackled by a 250-pound linebacker, let's just see what happens. I mean, like, if she really wants to go out there, let her go out there, but, anyway, I just think everyone should be able to do what's right and the most thing. And matter of fact, going back to my friend Brandy here, who's been joining me in the chat during this episode, had commented on one of my videos talking about when I was talking about freedom and just saying, basically freedom is not harming yourself or others. Everything else is, what else? And that's that's a simplistic statement that I agree with 100%, that I would say to anybody all the time. I mean, it's as long, I'm more so towards not hurting others. I guess if you hurt yourself, that's your own choice. If maybe you're into self-mutilation, I really don't know, but generally, you are a divine entity too, and you should care for yourself the way you would care for others. I mean, ultimately, how you care for yourself is a reflection of how you would care for others. But in general, if you're living your life doing what you feel is right, with integrity from your heart, then you're not going to you're not infringing on others to do what is right for them. Then that's really what freedom is all about. But our society does not create that space. And again, going back to everything that we're seeing, all this stuff again with Trump, like I kind of brought it up. I mean, that's the whole point. Like, we're not seeing the truth of all that. We're basically seeing just ways of keeping people distracted and keeping people isolated and keeping people away from the freedom that we're talking about, right? So I don't know. That's kind of how I roll with all that stuff. You guys know me out there. I love everybody, and it's really just about creating a space of being your best self. I mean, I say it a million times, and and you don't have to be slaves to others and answer to others, and we all get scared, a little bit of changes and maybe moving out of these like circumstances, and who knows what the world's going to bring over the next couple of years as we continue to go through this. But I really think we're at the precipice now. Like, things are really heating up, and it's like it's coming from all angles between the climate change. I want to do a show on climate change. I might do that tomorrow. I don't know. But I have a little note written down to do something with the climate change too, because that's a whole nother topic, but basically, I'm not saying that there isn't climate change, but I also don't think it's happening the way that they're saying it's happening and for the reasons that they say it's happening. So again, everything is just this misinformation. They use everything that they can to create a media campaign, hysteria, and funnel people down one path where they can easily be controlled. So don't be controlled out there by this mainstream media machine trying to keep you from your best self. Pay attention to what's going on out there in the world. It's important to be informed, but don't attach to it. Don't get wrapped up in it. You know, this whole right-left thing, it's just out of control, man. And like the people on the left side they're just so pissed all the time. They're just like crazy pissed, and they just, it's always just so much about rights and your rights being, and like you should be free to do whatever you want. You should be free to go to the top of the Empire State Building and just urinate just freely. I identify with a man peeing off the top of the Empire State Building, so I'm going to go there. I'm just going to pee freely, off the Empire State Building because I believe that urine should be expressed to everyone. We all should experience each other's urine. Don't you understand? It's the agenda. Don't make a commercial for that one day. Heyo. The people of the world now oppressed, unable to freely express their urine in public. All right. Anyway, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I've ranted longer than I needed to here today. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And yeah, that's about it. So take the time to like, subscribe, share, send this out to your friends, your family, those you love, and of course, those you despise as well. I love each and every one of you individually as well as a group. God bless you, as I always say. And that's it. Until tomorrow, Operation Status Quo disengaged.
Boulevard of 10 short blocks.